Somewhere right now, a contractor is staring at a skid steer he regrets buying, a machine that overheats by noon, snaps its own drive chain, or bogs down the second you ask it to work. He's not alone. For every legendary loader, there's one operator's trade-in fast and warn their buddies to never touch. These are the machines that killed jobs, drained wallets, and earned a reputation in all the wrong ways. Here are the 10 most hated skid steers ever built. Number 10. John Deere CT332. We open with the most debatable pick on the list, because the John Deere CT332 splits a room. Deere is a top-tier name, and plenty of CT332 owners genuinely like theirs. But this machine represents Deere's earlier, rougher era of compact track loaders, before the company revamped the line into the models people actually rave about today. On paper, it's a serious machine. A 76 horsepower PowerTech 5-cylinder turbo diesel, around 24 gallons per minute of hydraulic flow, and a rated operating capacity of about 3,200 pounds, real muscle. So where does the frustration come from? Start with the cab. The CT332 uses an overhead roll-up door rather than a modern side entry door, and owners note it's tighter to climb into and tends to rattle as you work. Small thing, but you feel it every single day. Then there are the recurring starting and fuel headaches operators report. Air working into the fuel lines, the need to bleed the system, and hard cold starts that leave you cranking when you'd rather be working. Add the wet disc brakes and the older style undercarriage, and you've got a machine that feels a generation behind the competition it was sold against. Here's the honest part. Many owners run CT332s for well over 1,000 hours and love them, praising the pushing power and how easy they are to service. This isn't a machine that will ruin you. It lands at number 10 because it's the before we got it right Deere, a capable loader that a lot of operators quietly wished was better and that Deere itself clearly agreed with, given how much they improved the follow-up models. Divisive, dated, and just good enough to argue about. That's a number 10 kind of hate. Number 9. Volvo MC70B. Number 9 is the little sibling of a machine you'll see higher on this list, and it carries the same fatal flaw, a badge that promises more than the machine delivers. The Volvo MC70B is a compact-wheeled skid steer with a rated operating capacity of around 1,500 pounds. The 70 refers roughly to that 700-kilogram class. Here's the backstory that explains a lot. Volvo didn't design this skid steer from scratch. The platform originated with an American company called SCAT-Track, which Volvo acquired in the early 2000s. Early Volvo units ran a Kubota engine. Later ones, including the B-Series, switched to a Volvo-branded Yanmar. Solid engines on their own, but bolted into a design Volvo inherited rather than engineered, and never fully made its own. The complaints owners raise are the kind that leave a machine parked. One MC70B owner described stalling the machine while pushing sand at low RPM, and then it simply refused to restart, cranking with no fire, needing a shot of starting fluid just to cough to life for a few seconds. That points at fuel delivery gremlins that turn a working loader into what the owner himself jokingly called a lawn ornament. When your skid steer's party trick is refusing to start after a routine stall, you've got a trust problem. To be fair, the MC70B has genuinely comfortable ergonomics, a big top window for overhead visibility, and a choice of mechanical or pilot controls. It's not a dangerous machine or a total disaster, but it's uncommon. It's awkward to find parts and support for, and it inherited the reputation of a platform that never earned Volvo any real foothold in the skid steer world. A premium badge on an orphan design is a recipe for regret, and that puts the MC70B at number 9. Number 8. ASV RC30. Number 8 is a case of a machine that isn't so much dangerous as it is disappointing, and disappointment, day after day, breeds its own kind of resentment. The ASV RC30 is the smallest of the Posi-Track rubber track loaders, and it's tiny in every sense. Look at the numbers. It runs a 3-cylinder Perkins diesel, making just 31.5 horsepower. Hydraulic flow is about 10 gallons per minute, and the rated operating capacity, roughly 560 pounds, with a tipping load around 1,600 pounds. For context, that's a fraction of what a mid-size machine handles. On the right light-duty landscaping job, in tight spaces, on soft turf, the little RC30's rubber tracks and low ground pressure are actually a nice trick. The problem is that owners keep asking it to do real work, and it simply doesn't have the muscle. Then there's the undercarriage. Like all the rubber track ASVs, the RC30's track frame is prone to packing with dirt, mud, and debris, which fouls the drive and forces constant cleaning. Owners deal with track tension fussiness, and when the tracks aren't perfectly maintained, the machine won't track straight or moves in a jerky, unsatisfying way. A skid steer you have to babysit and clean out constantly, that runs out of breath the moment a job gets serious, wears on an operator fast. The RC30 earns its spot, not because it fails catastrophically, but because it overpromised on that clever track technology and underdelivered on power and simplicity. It's the machine people buy expecting a compact powerhouse and end up using as a glorified lawn cart, and then grumbling about every time they wish they'd bought something with real capacity. Underpowered and high maintenance, the ASV RC30 takes number 8. Number 7. New Holland LX885. Number 7 is a machine a lot of farms still have parked in a shed, and it's earned a mixed to sour reputation for reasons baked right into its design. The New Holland LX885 runs a turbocharged 3-cylinder diesel, making around 60 horsepower, with a rated operating capacity of about 2,200 pounds. Decent size, decent power. The trouble is in how it puts that power to the ground and how the operator sits. First, the drivetrain. The LX885 is a chain drive machine. The hydrostatic motors turn heavy roller chains that spin the wheels. When those chains stretch, slip, or snap, you lose an entire side of the machine. Owners have described exactly that. A unit that suddenly won't drive forward or backward on one side, wheels locked up, while the chains inside look deceptively fine. Others report the two sides feeling mismatched. One stick touchy and darty, the other smooth, so keeping a straight line becomes a constant fight with the levers. Then there's the electrical gremlin that drives people up a wall. A false low oil pressure warning that flashes and shuts the engine down after about 30 seconds, even when the oil pressure is actually fine. Imagine that on a busy day, the machine killing itself mid-task over a bad sensor reading, running perfectly one day and stalling out repeatedly the next. Chasing an intermittent fault like that can eat a month of your patience. Layer on the classic New Holland gripe, a seating position low enough that seeing the cutting edge of your bucket becomes guesswork, and you get a machine that fights you on precise work even when the engine's healthy. The LX885 isn't junk. It's a workhorse that many owners kept running for decades. But the chain drive weak point, the false shutdowns, and the visibility complaints make it a machine people love to complain about. Number 6. Terex PT30. If the name Terex is starting to sound familiar, get used to it, because this brand's compact track loaders are about to dominate the top of this list. Number 6 is the Terex PT30, the small frame member of the family, and it suffers from the exact affliction that made this whole lineup infamous. It runs out of breath. The signature failure operators report on the PT30 is fuel starvation under load. You put the machine to work, dig into a pile, push a load, run an attachment, and the RPMs sag, the power fades, and the engine acts like it's being choked. Owners chasing the problem end up deep in the fuel system. Clogged fuel filter screens, gummed up water separators, restricted fuel lines, a mechanical fuel pump that can't seem to keep up with demand. When a skid steer can't reliably feed its own engine, every heavy pull becomes a gamble on whether it'll bog down or die. There are secondary gremlins too. One owner reported the starter motor turning the engine over once and then squealing, a problem that surfaced after the machine took a hard nosedive, which itself tells you something about how these small track loaders handle abuse. Combine an engine that starves under load with a machine that doesn't take a beating gracefully, and you've got a loader that spends more time being coaxed than working. The frustrating thing is that on light, steady tasks, the PT30's rubber tracks give it genuine flotation and a soft footprint. But buyers don't purchase a track loader to baby it through easy jobs. They buy it to work. A machine that fuel starves the moment you lean on it is a machine that fails at its one job. And that reputation is exactly why the Terex PT30 sits at number 6. And believe me, it's not the worst Terex here. Number 5. John Deere 317. Number 5 is a modern machine, and it represents an entire era of frustration that operators turned on almost overnight. The John Deere 317G is a Tier 4 final compact track loader, and by all rights it should be a great little machine. Deere finally figured out its CTL line, and the mechanicals are well regarded. The villain here isn't the loader, it's the emissions hardware bolted to it. The 317G runs a Tier 4 final diesel with a diesel particulate filter and a cooled exhaust gas recirculation system. The DPF's job is to trap soot and periodically burn it off in a regeneration cycle. In theory, it's automatic and invisible. In practice, owners describe a machine that demands babysitting. When a regeneration is needed, work gets interrupted. When the DPF clogs, overheats or fills with ash, the machine loses power or drops into limp mode, reduced performance right in the middle of a job. And DPF cleanings and replacements are expensive, recurring downtime that hits owners in the wallet again and again. The EGR system, meanwhile, routes hot exhaust back into the intake, adding heat, soot, and its own reliability headaches. Here's the clearest proof of how much operators resent this setup. An entire aftermarket industry exists specifically to delete these systems, reprogramming the machine to strip the emissions hardware out for off-road use. When a whole market forms to remove the technology a manufacturer just installed, the customers have rendered their verdict. In fairness, Deere insists the cleaning process runs automatically with little impact under normal operation, and plenty of owners report the regen cycle firing only occasionally without drama. The tech has matured a lot, but the transition-era machines like the 317G cost more, ran hotter, and introduced faults that older loaders never had. A genuinely good machine sabotaged by the box hanging off its exhaust. That's why the John Deere 317G lands at number 5. Number 4. Bobcat T770. Even the king takes a hit. Bobcat invented the skid steer, holds the biggest market share, and generally enjoys a rock-solid reputation, which is exactly why the complaints about the T770 sting, because buyers paid a premium expecting bulletproof and a specific weak point kept biting them. The T770 is a large-frame, vertical-lift compact track loader in the roughly 90 horsepower class, and on capability, nobody's complaining. On one particular component, everybody is. The headline issue lives in the belt that drives the hydraulic pump, specifically the idler that rides on that belt. Owners report the idler bearings failing, and here's the detail that turns annoyance into real anger. At least one was told by a dealer that these idlers just tend to give out roughly every 600 to 800 hours. 600 hours is nothing on a machine worked this hard. Worse, when that idler lets go, it doesn't always fail politely. It can take other components down with it, turning a cheap part into an expensive teardown. That's not the only gripe. Owners have reported drive hub bearing failures, serious enough to require replacing the entire hub, plus assorted electrical annoyances like an air conditioning system that cuts in and out. None of these alone is catastrophic. Stacked on a machine wearing the badge that's supposed to be the safe choice, they add up to owners planning their next trade sooner than they'd like. Balance where it's due. Many T770 owners run these things hard and love them, singing the praises of the roller suspension and the sheer lifting and pushing power. And Bobcat's dealer network means help is rarely far away. But a wear item that fails on a predictable clock on a premium machine gets talked about at every equipment counter in the country. Betrayed expectations put the Bobcat T770 at number 4. Number 3. Volvo MC110. Now we hit the top 3, and number 3 surprises people every time, because the badge on the nose is one of the most respected in all of heavy equipment. Volvo builds genuinely elite excavators and wheel loaders. The Volvo MC110 skid steer? A completely different story. Remember the Scat Track origin from the MC70B entry. The MC110 is the big brother of that same inherited platform, a design Volvo bought rather than built, running a Kubota engine in the early years and a Volvo-branded Yanmar later. It's the largest of the line, and on raw output, it actually delivers. That's what makes the operator reviews so brutal. One who ran an MC110 for a season put it about as bluntly as it gets. The power was good and everything else about the machine was bad. He pointed straight at why Volvo got almost nowhere in the skid steer market with it, calling it garbage when Volvo took it over, and still garbage years later. The deeper problem is ownership after the sale. When you own a Volvo excavator, you're plugged into a world-class support network. When you own a Volvo MC110, owners report a far thinner pipeline for the everyday parts that keep a compact loader alive. And a skid steer waiting weeks on a part is a skid steer bleeding money. Add rattles, general build quality gripes, and resale value that suffers precisely because so few of these machines sold, and you have a loader that's hard to live with and hard to get rid of. The cruel twist is the badge itself. Buyers assume the Volvo name guarantees premium reliability, and then the skid steer specifically fails to honor that promise. It's the widest gap on this list between reputation and reality, an elite name on a machine owners actively steer their friends away from. That mismatch is why the Volvo MC110 takes number 3. Number 2. ASV RC100. Number 2 is a machine that genuinely put people out of business, and I don't say that for drama. ASV, out of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, pioneered the rubber track undercarriage that lets a loader float over soft ground. Brilliant idea. But the RC100, especially in the era it was sold under Terex ownership, turned that promise into a nightmare for the operators who trusted it. Start with heat, because the RC100 has a legendary problem staying cool. Owners running the machine with demanding attachments like forestry mulchers describe a loader that overheats relentlessly. One detailed a workday that went like this: run 2 or 3 hours in the morning, watch the temperature climb toward the danger zone, shut the cutter off, let it cool for several minutes, get maybe 45 more minutes of work, and repeat that cycle all day long. Part of the root cause traces to a cooling design where the engine and hydraulic sides shared space and bled heat into each other, so one system's heat sabotaged the other. When your daily schedule is dictated by how long until the machine cooks itself, productivity is dead on arrival. Then the repair bills, and these numbers are real. One contractor who ran ASV machines hard reported spending over $23,000 on repairs in a single year. Enough, he noted bitterly, that he could have nearly bought new machines for the cost of the fixes. Another owner said that out of roughly 150 days he actively owned his machine, it sat in the dealer's shop for about 60 of them, broken more than a third of the time he owned it. Pile on constant hydraulic leaks from the loader valve assembly, drive motor failures, tracks slipping off the undercarriage, and dealer support so thin in some regions that owners felt completely stranded, and you have a recipe for financial ruin. The tragedy is that the core PosiTrack concept was ahead of its time and shaped the entire industry. But execution and support during those years turned the RC100 into a cautionary tale. Operators still tell. For sheer damage done to the people who believed in it, the ASV RC100 takes number 2. Number 1. Terex PT50. And here it is, the machine so widely panned that reviewers have flatly called it the worst skid steer ever made. Number 1 is the Terex PT50. And once you hear the details, the crown makes sense. Start with the specs, because they set up the betrayal. On paper, the PT50 wears a 50 horsepower Perkins diesel, standard hydraulic flow around 16 gallons per minute, 3,000 psi of system pressure, and an operating weight north of 6,000 pounds, numbers that put it squarely in the middle of the mid-size pack. Middle of the pack should mean perfectly usable. It wasn't. The defining flaw is power delivery, or the shocking lack of it at the tracks. Reviewers who owned and operated the PT50 describe a machine that felt dramatically weaker than its rating suggested. The most damning example, an operator reported the machine stalling out just backing up a modest slope with no load on it at all. Not digging, not lifting, not carrying, just reversing up an incline, empty, and the engine died. He had it brought into the shop and checked, and the gutlessness remained. This is, as one reviewer marveled, a skid steer capable of getting itself stuck while doing absolutely nothing. The problems ran deeper than power. That same operator discovered Terex had undersized the pins and bushings on the PT50, the load-bearing joints a skid steer flexes on all day long. Undersizing the wear points on a machine built to take abuse is a design decision that guarantees premature failure. Add complaints about the tracks, the body, and the overall build, plus a finicky cold start ritual that has you cycling the glow plugs even in a warm shop, and you get a machine that fights its owner at every turn. The reviewer who owned one for 3 months summed up the experience in language too blue to repeat here, essentially calling it a pile of junk dressed up to look like a skid loader. And here's the thing that seals its place at number 1. When multiple experienced operators, people who've run Bobcats, John Deeres, and New Hollands for years, independently crown the same machine the worst they've ever touched, that's not a fluke, that's a legacy. The Terex PT50 is the most hated skid steer ever built. If this saved you from a bad buy, hit that like button, subscribe for more heavy equipment breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next one. Keep those machines running, and whatever you do, stay off the slopes in a PT50.